There are so many elements that make a perfect horror moment.
Why do we watch horror films? There are thrills in the illicit.
You have goosebumps, you are terrified.
It just descends into absolute mayhem.
And his arms flew off. That was incredible.
Jordan Peele obviously gets the terror along with the levity much better than anyone.
The screams that must have erupted in theaters.
Just sheer terror.
The scariest movie that's ever been made.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 7 of the 101 Scariest Movie Moments on Shudder. And it is myself, Garrett at Born to Be Rad, and to my, what is this, my left, my right? What am I here? But,
left, right. I don't know. Heck, honestly, how to show up, but yeah.
The co-host of this series, Mr. Uncle Bill from DEADPIT Radio. What is going on, man? How you feeling this week? Better than last week, hopefully?
Oh, yeah. I've exercised the demons.
All right, so you cooled down
So
now?
all I've been doing, man, is just running around to fucking McDonald's trying to collect these boo buckets.
Dude, I know.
Listen, it's ridiculous because I don't remember when we were kids, like, having this much trouble finding these damn things. Like, it's become like a, an event now to try to locate all these different buckets.
They know what they're doing, man. I mean, it's like the same shit like anything nowadays. Like when I was a kid, I remember I had like all the different pails. There was like multiple pumpkins at one point. There was like a purple witch. I've only got the ghost, man. That's it. The ghost is all I've been able to get. Everywhere I've gone, they're like, oh, we just have the ghost. I'm like, what the heck? Like, now I'm at a point now where I'm like calling people being like, hey, do anybody want to make a trade? Like, get me one and I'll pay you, send it to me. But I have a feeling that they're going to pop up. It's just maybe they're just getting weird shipments now. I'm hoping that this isn't like, oh, well, sorry, we only got the ghosts in like all these places in my area, and then all of a sudden it's over. That to me would suck.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, it was pretty easy for me to get. I got the goblin and the ghost in the same day. The damn pumpkin thing is like impossible to find. Like, for the last 2 days, we've gone around to every one at like 4 different McDonald's in this area, and like nobody ever has them. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they'll ever be around here. I don't know if they're like, well, actually I do know because CK said they were somewhere like around where we live, but like I haven't been able to find them. Like I went to the same McDonald's and everything, and they were either sold out. That's the other thing too. Like because we went tonight, the last 2 we went to were like, they're just sold out completely of any of them. So it was like, Jesus, man.
They've actually said they were sold out, huh?
Yeah, of all of the buckets, not just any of the particular kind.
Wow.
Like they didn't have any of them. So I think that this is probably like one of the most popular things that they've done.
Yeah, it's it is very, very odd. I mean, the one that I live near, they told me they only got the ghosts in. That's all they've got so far. Like that's all that they've been shipped. And I said, well, how long is this whole thing going to last? And they're like, oh, probably like a week. And I'm thinking, a week? Like, we better hustle here and try to find these things.
Like, I intend to find one of them damn pumpkins before it's over with somehow or another. But I don't know. Like, it's got to be the most popular thing that they've done because I don't remember them selling out anything like that except maybe those stupid ass. Remember when they did that thing where they were like, here's, I don't know, Master P's lunch or what. Whoever it was, it wasn't Master P, but it was like,
oh, I know what you're saying. It was like it was like a current guy, right?
Yeah, here's the Chingy special. They sold out of those, but like that's the only other thing I can think of.
Then there was something else for a while where like some kind of sauce or something people were trying to get. Remember there was like a
sauce? The teriyaki sauce, yeah, for the Szechuan.
I've never had that. I mean, it's been a while since I've gone to McDonald's, but now it's like I'm going. Like my son gets out of school and I'm like, all right, let's go. I'll get you something. And then today I went up to the thing and I'm like, what do you got? They're like, oh, just the ghost. I'm like, all right, we're out of here. He's like, well, no, not today.
Yeah, we just drove. I can't do it anymore. Like, because yesterday we ate there twice, and then so today I was just like, if they don't have anything, I'm just like fucking going.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The lady yelled at me today because I was like, I asked her what she had, and she's like, "I can't sell you just the pail. You need to get the food too." I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm not asking that. Like, I just want to know which one you have."
yeah.
She's like, "The white one." I'm like, "Oh, all right, see you later."
They're hardcore about it now.
But
Let's
anyway,
see-
we'll
Let's
jump
see who's in
into
here
that
real
really
quick. Yeah.
What's up, Ryan?
So we got Ryan's in here. Killer Pizza, who says he's listening to us from
Yeah,
a lumberyard out in Detroit.
I love it. I love it.
Jerry Bean's in here.
What up, Jerry? Jolly.
TJ Frizzy. Scott's Wrestling Collection. Suspirian Knights. Always good to have him in here. Carnage 6X. Is this one of yours? I don't remember Carnage 6X.
No, but welcome, man.
Good to have you. Saturn Videos.
What
Always good to have. MacBoy Colors. Good to have you in here.
What's up?
Our boy Christian's in here.
I think Christian's on the road right now, brother.
Okay. Fred the Wolf.
Freddie, what's up, man?
And Manic Exorcism. Good to see you. Like group therapy after watching
Hey.
Halloween.
I was enjoying it.
Scab. I'm gonna kill you one day. Good. Scab says much better episode than last week's. I agree with that. Yeah. The Mayor, Stuntman Mark, which we did a really cool show last night too, which was like a Craven's best scene show, and one of those might appear on this very episode. I don't know.
Was that on Nickelodeon or was it on this channel?
It was That's So Craven on Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Don't forget too, coming up, we're going to be hanging with Mr. Hooper. So
Oh my God.
that's the
I
Toby
love
Hooper
it.
show.
I love it. On Friday nights, like TGIF or whatever.
That's right.
That's so funny.
Magic Hands is in here. Robert
what we gonna-
Reams.
What we're gonna do on Fridays is we're gonna get like a lineup. Like you're on at 8:30, someone else comes on at like 9:30.
I swear to God, I'm going to try to do like all the big four in some sort of like Nickelodeon, like sitcom version of like a show like that.
That's so funny.
Robert Reams, I had this. This is interesting. You bring this up. Every now and then, I'll have this as I'm driving to all these different McDonald's. I'll have this point of realization that I'm like a 40-something-year-old man, like running around trying to find fucking Halloween buckets. So yes, like that thought has crossed my mind.
Nostalgia's a hell of a drug, man.
It is. So Big Crack Rock's in here. That's nice.
Yo. Yeah.
He says most people have been getting the ghosts.
So it's not even worth selling mine now.
Gus and Rob are in here. Jesse's in here.
What's up, man?
A lot of people in here. The mayor's still upset that the show wasn't about Raven Smile. Okay, there's a lot of other people just coming in, but that's.
We'll get back to the chat. We'll start this up because I think we like to keep this around an hour in length, and I know that him and I want to do something a little special at the end. So make sure you guys stick around as we go through this. And like we always do, we'll go through each one. We'll go back to the chat, kind of see what you guys have to say about this. Now, this week we're on the top 23, 24. So it's basically like the top 25 at this point. 23, I think. And, so these are going to be the heavy hitters right now. And I think we have a lot of good ones on the list today. As far as where they're placed, I'm a little bit, again, I think it goes back to what we talked about before is I don't understand the rules anymore of this.
I don't either, but I do agree with every pick on. I think every pick on here should be on this list. I think that some of them are just wildly misplaced for some reason that I can't figure out what they were going for in some of this list. But I agree with everything on here. For probably the first time, I'm like, none of these on here I haven't seen or don't agree with in some way or another that should be on this list. So that's a pleasant surprise anyway.
For sure. Well, all right, we'll get into number 23. So last week we ended at 24, which was Hellraiser. Now, so you're going to think that's everything is coming before that now. And again, when we talk about this, it's like sometimes it's like Scariest Movie Moments. Like that's the name of the show. Sometimes it's just they just throw the movie in. They don't really give you an actual moment. So it's like it's kind of sporadic on how these things are done. But the first one we're going to talk about today is one that I kind of forgot about in a sense, like I'm like, oh, we've been talking about all these ones that are going to hit the top of this list, and this one to me definitely should be up here. And we weren't really chatting about it that much throughout this list, and that's The Descent, which is a fantastic movie and well deserved to be recognized as something pretty special in the last decade or so.
I pretty much agree with everything they said in this show about The Descent too. Like, it's an incredibly claustrophobic feeling movie, and you just like even before the monsters come in, like the whole idea of being trapped in this cave and you can't see anything and like there's no way out, and what the hell do you do at that point is enough. And then all of the other stuff with the creatures coming and the way they design the creatures, but they really didn't talk about that, but like they really look like something that would be in an area where there's no light. They're kind of translucent almost, and they just it looks like the sucker thing from the X-Files. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
kind of the same design or whatever.
But, claustrophobic. Like it's funny, as I'm getting older, it's like one of those things that I kind of fear. I'm like, man, I don't know. I would hate to be in a position like where you are underground or underneath something. You can't move your arms. Like that alone is like very uncomfortable to watch. Yeah,
man. Like that kind of freaked me out about that. And that movie kind of tripped me out too the first time I saw it. Especially the ending, which they didn't really even reference the ending, which is kind of a mindfuck ending in a way. And I really always thought that always stayed with me too. Mm-hmm. And so
it's great pick. It seems like everybody in the chat right now is kind of agreeing that Descent deserves to be on this list for sure.
Yeah, and they mentioned this, and this kills me about this show too, though, man. Like they had to like be like, it's a film with an all-female cast, and that really wasn't like a big thing at the time, and it's like, okay, yeah. It's just a good movie. Can you just like?
Oh, I agree.
We got it. We got the message.
The Descent was decent.
Manic Exorcism says The Descent genuinely made me feel sick from the tension. He loved it. Yeah, that's true. The Descent too. I forgot that even existed.
Oh yeah, I've only watched it once.
It's Dave Bushty.
What's up?
How y'all's? Let's see. Movie Junkie John's got a 35mm trailer.
Ooh,
that'd be awesome. It's the Fluke. I'm thinking. Yeah, the host is the episode of the X-Files, but it's called the Fluke Monster. It's like a big worm fluke thing. And Scratch Bruno says that he recommended this to everyone when it came out. Yeah, so I think it's pretty much universally.
Yeah, I remember I saw it in the theater, and then I remember watching it when it came out on DVD, and I was at a buddy's house, and it was all like a bunch of me and my friends were like, oh, let's watch The Descent, and this one kid that was with us, like, he literally screamed like the whole time, like, he's like hiding and stuff. And I'll never forget that day. And Scotty, if you're watching, remember when we watched The Descent? So the next one, and I know you're gonna probably be like, ugh, but again, I mean, it's deserving, I think, of a spot on this list. That's Saw. Again, it's as for me, like, I still like the original one quite a bit. I'm not necessarily a fan of many of the other ones. I thought like it started pretty hot as a franchise and then kind of started trailing off towards the end. But I'm cool with Saw. As far as if I put it at 22, I mean, I guess sure.
Yeah, man, 22. I like. Okay, so anybody can say whatever they want, but when the original Saw first came out, nobody saw that ending coming. I didn't see it coming. I remember watching it and being like, what the fuck? Like, you just did not, like, that. You couldn't process that. Like, that was what was actually going on. And I still think that it could be in the top 25. It really could, just based on, like, how creative that movie was for the time with all the traps and the ending and things like that. It was like a horror version of something like Seven or something like that, the way that it ended. So I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, and I know people are probably going to be a little bit love and hate on Saw. It seems like people are talking. Well, I get some people from Boston in here, guys. I'm from the Northeast, so welcome. Awesome. Crypto Mark, Dave Bushty, Boston guy.
Not a Boston.
Sweet.
Bostonians? Yeah. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Nice. Welcome, guys. Yeah, so that was Saw, and there's not much I think we need to talk about Saw. Everybody pretty much knows it pretty well at this point. Yeah, and again, it was such a twist ending, and it shot off a huge franchises. Love it or hate it, Saw to me was one of those, like, every Halloween, every October, it was like, oh, let's gear up to go see Saw, and I'd always be there with friends at like the midnight showing.
I loved, like, the first. I even kind of liked the third movie. Like, in its own weird way, I kind of liked it. The first two I loved. I thought they were really well done. The third one, it kind of... And then it gets into that weird, like, detective drama shit with that one Constantine guy that comes in. And after that point, it's like they're unwatchable to me. Like, you just can't even, like, differentiate.
Once they got rid of Donnie Wahlberg, I was out.
That's right. That's right.
I said, if there's no New Kids on the Block in here, I'm done. That was kind of how it went.
Do you recommend Trick or Treat, Garrett?
I do.
There you go.
All right, so here's an interesting one for me. Now, great movie.
Yeah.
I love it. Do I agree with where it's placed on 100? No, I think I would probably put it like somewhere maybe in like the 40s or whatever. But man, it's a great movie, and that's Scanners. What's up, Bob? Bob Orton, baby. It's Bob Orton.
I'm just gonna say, like, they really, and they actually were truthful about this. They just fucking, like, said the only reason we picked this movie was for this one scene. Like, we don't even know what the rest of the movie's about, really. And they're like, this is it. Like, and I'm kind of like okay with that, because that is an iconic scene. So
yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that you caught that, because to me it was very similar in the sense too. It was like nobody wanted to. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, because they kept those scenes and they're like, yeah, the rest of the movie, I don't know, it's confusing or whatever. Like they kind of like brushed it off. Like they didn't really want to talk about the movie itself. They're like, oh, but the head exploding scene and the rest, like,
oh yeah,
confusing movie.
It is a weird, but it's kind of, well, not kind of. It's really, really slow, actually. Like, and to watch like the whole thing and just, it kind of like slogs along throughout the whole thing, and there's not a whole lot going on in between. Like maybe a couple, like the ending and that scene are the two big, only, really memorable scenes in that whole movie. So I kind of get like where they're coming from with that, and I agree that Cronenberg stuff should be on the list. And that's not even my favorite Cronenberg movie, but I can see how that scene would make it. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think this is the last Cronenberg movie we see on this list?
Okay, so they did The Fly already. I know that. They did The Brood.
Yep.
They did...
they haven't done Videodrome yet.
I was getting ready to say, that's the... And see, but I don't think so. I don't think that'll be on here, man. Like, when I was going through, like, other stuff, like, I don't think that one will be later on.
Yeah,
so,
it's
tough
wrong, now because we're literally going on to the top 10, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, that was Scanners at 21. So now we're going to get into 20 all the way down to basically 11. Dead Zone's good. Yeah.
He says, as a Canadian, Cronenberg is very overrated.
Yeah, man, we've got Wreck. Now, Wreck, it's not one that I watch often. Not that I don't like it. I think when I saw it for the first time, I was pretty blown away with it. But it's not one I go back to. I don't know if it's the subtitle thing. I don't know but it makes you feel uneasy. I mean, that scene that they showed at the end, I mean, that freaked me out a lot when I first saw that for the first time. What do you think of Wreck being here?
I 100% think it should be on this list. I don't think it should be number 20. It shouldn't even be close. It should be like around the 50s somewhere or something like that. But it was there, and I do agree that finale in either movie that you watch, Quarantine or Wreck or whichever, like both of them are to me like creepy as hell. Either one, because of the way that it's shot and set up. But I mean, Wreck was one of those first movies that really took that like hyper, realistic camera stuff that makes you dizzy and uncomfortable and stuff like that to a whole other level. I remember the time that we went and saw fucking Cloverfield at the theater. Speaking of that, like I actually got, that's the only time I've ever gotten motion sickness watching a movie. I was just like, everything is just constantly moving. And the same way with Rec, like it's just, you know, you feel like you're in some sort of roller coaster or something trying to watch that fucking movie.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with a lot of people on the list. Like if you start to really sit down and think about like what this has come before or what this has come after, right? Like what this is number 20. So like,
Yeah.
you know, I saw someone mention Elm Street, Hellraiser. Like this is in their eyes scarier than those movies. Or again, I don't know the criteria. Scarier, sure, maybe. Better, no. Like,
well, they go back and forth with the criteria. That's what kills me. Like, for like Scanners, they'll be like, okay, it's just this one scene. But then for something else, it'll be the whole fucking movie. Or they won't even. Like,
or well, even worse, like Elm Street was the whole franchise. Like,
yeah. So
every Elm Street's gonna be right here. Every Friday the 13th is gonna be lumped in here. Like that's where it's wild, right? Like,
yeah, I don't get that at all.
And true, like I would have put Blair Witch, in my opinion, ahead of this.
I would have too, yeah.
So just a weird placement for Rec, but you know what? Like we've talked about every week, is that there's always, in every 10, there's like a foreign movie.
Yes. Yep.
So maybe this was like, oh, we gotta put one in now. So
you think that
they
like just arbitrarily? Well, that okay.
I mean, it's kind of been every time we do the show. There's one in there, and maybe this was just the one that they wanted to throw in here. You know, so I don't know. Again, good movie, top 20. That could be pushing it, in my opinion.
But I will say this, that like even though Rec is in the top 20 and it probably shouldn't be, I agree with this next movie and I agree with the placement of it too. I think that it's pretty much like right where it would need to be. Which number 19 is Carrie. Mm-hmm. So, and there's no way that, you know, this list wasn't going to have Carrie on it. It's just not going to fucking happen. And you could make a case that the whole end of that movie is terrifying. If you're going for like the scariest scenes, like the ending of that movie, like all the way through the last like 30 minutes is scary. I mean, it's great. It still holds up to this day the way that it's shot too. And you can go and like watch, like the way that he cuts that is like a masterclass in how you edit something, where he's got her, you know, what's going on with her, and then he cuts in the different like, you know, things going on around her and everything into the same. Yeah,
it's still effective in all aspects. I love Carrie a lot. You know, we talked about this before. Is, you know, when it comes to upgrading to 4Ks and stuff, we're just being very hesitant on what we're upgrading again, you know, especially from things like Scream Factory, who had just given you like upgraded transfers, no extras features and stuff. But I'm going to bite on the new Carrie 4K. I have their Blu-ray, which is great. But Carrie's one of those movies. And to be honest, like I'm such a mark for that original poster with the two with her on each side or whatever, that I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this thing. And it's just a great movie, and I think you're right. It belongs, you know, in that top 20 tier for sure.
Yeah, it's just a classic, and everybody knows that, and everybody knows the scene. And actually, it's not even really the scene that they talked about. Like the scene that they referenced in the show was the finale scene, which has been ripped off like 8 million times. Which is with the hand coming up out of the grave and all that, which Friday the 13th ripped off, and like pretty much every goddamn horror film in the 80s tried to rip off too. Then they were making the case, and I didn't see this coming. They made the case that Carrie ripped off Deliverance. And I'm like, no.
Because of the hand? Because of the hand?
Not really, though, man. Because, like,
coming out of the water.
Yeah, he was having a nightmare of just, like, the hand coming up. It just floated. It wasn't like it grabbed his ass or anything, or like he was going psychotic. But in Carrie, I mean, that's a whole different kind of thing.
Somebody made up a good. Somebody brought up something good in here. Let me just see if I can find what it was. Fred the Wolf said that this was number 8 on Bravo's list back in 08 or 09. So that's crazy to see, like in 10 years, how, you know, it's moved as far as these lists. But now, is this the only De Palma movie we've seen on this list? Do you know offhand?
Did they do? I think they do. Like really early on, they didn't do Dress to Kill.
Maybe. I don't know. They definitely didn't do Blue Velvet or anything like that. But
what the fuck? Did they do any other De Palma movies? I don't think they did.
Yeah. No, I don't think they did either. But you know what? You bringing up Deliverance. If I was making this list, that would be on here somewhere. But I don't think it's going to be touched in the top 10. And I don't even know if you'd even consider it horror. I mean, to me, it's a friggin' scary movie, no doubt.
Deliverance,
right.
oh, dude. Like, that movie, if you don't live in the South, then it's really hard to wrap your head around this. But the people in that movie, and I'm not talking about the crazy fucking, like, guy that, like, does the pig stuff. The people that they run into in the beginning where they got the kid with the banjo and all that.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of how people, like, act in certain places around here. Like, that's a very good representation of, like, some of the families and stuff. Like,
that's wild, man.
It just is. Like, I mean, there's people that are not like that, of course, but that exists. Like, that stereotypical kind of character is not that stereotypical. It really exists.
It's funny because like when I watch it, it's so foreign to me. Like I've never seen anything like that in person, ever.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to like places that were very similar to that when they run into that group of people at the beginning.
Oh, that's cool. Scott's Wrestling Collection said Deliverance was actually on the Bravo list, so that's cool to know. Alpha Romero.
Deliverance gave us hillbillies a bad name to this day.
Like I think I sent you that video I found with that group, the Whitakers. Remember? And you said, like, oh no, it's nothing I haven't really seen before. And I'm like, what?
It's true,
this
man.
Doesn't seem like it's even real life.
It doesn't, but I mean, it's true. It's a true kind of like sub whatever in this area, like subculture, I guess.
He says, Eastside Motel says Goodwill Hunting is like.
What the fuck? That's a great quote. Shit. Oh man. Okay, so moving on though. I completely
18.
I completely agree with this one too, and I think the placement's pretty good. Number 18 is The Omen. Mm-hmm. And I had forgotten like how awesome those death scenes were in The Omen until I saw this again. Mm-hmm. So it kind of jogged my memory a little bit, but like, I mean, everybody remembers the scene where what do they call her? The mistress or whatever jumps off the...
Yeah, it's for you, Damien. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing. But I didn't remember the scene where David Warner gets his head lopped off by the big glass pane, which is a great scene.
Great scene.
And just they didn't mention the score, which is a fucking travesty because that's got one of the best scores of any horror film, man. Still to this day, if I listen to that score and it's like late at night, you just get really creeped out. That all that just chanting, like monk chanting, kind of like,
It's just a great movie, and I think it's one of those movies too that it gets a lot of credit, but at the same time, it doesn't get a lot of credit. Like a lot of people will, say, "Hey, Omen's kind of boring." I mean, I think it's a fantastic movie, and like you said, the deaths are better than you would think, and it's creepy. Like I still remember to this day how creepy it was when they ripped open the friggin' grave or whatever, and it was like the jackal bones or whatever sitting there. I was like, you're like, what? Like it was so like out of left field, But yeah, I'm happy with where The Omen is on this list. I'm curious to see if anybody is saying anything negative about The Omen. But it seems like everybody's
not
pretty
really
good with it. 16, so we're at 18, so it didn't move too much here.
No, let's see. Some of these comments. I love The Omen 1 and 2. The Omen is greater than Amityville. Thoughts on that, Garrett? I know you're a big Amityville man.
I don't know, man. I think it's pretty even, but what's funny is we haven't seen Amityville yet, right?
No, you're right. That's kind of bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very hard to believe that that wouldn't make 100 based on everything we found on this list. That's what's weird to me is like it wouldn't be on here,
Yeah.
Something's getting snubbed.
Yeah, motherfucker. It sounds like monks chanting. That's what I said. I didn't stutter. where it's like, here, let me do an impression of it for you. It's like, Domino's.
Oh yeah.
KFC chicken nuggets. That kind of shit. Yeah. Nicotera humbly bragging that he owns the Warner head from that scene. Yeah. That was great. Okay, so most people, I don't think anybody's not saying that The Omen doesn't belong in the top 20.
Yeah, we've got what are we at now? Number 17. This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Again,
this is where I was kind of like,
I mean, I guess it's one of those things where I guess you gotta look at it from. Are we talking about like how effective it was at the time, or what are we comparing it to? So,
well, it's not called the 101 most influential horror films, so I'll give them that. If it's based on actually like scary stuff, then I mean, this movie's not necessarily that scary. Maybe for the time period, but yeah.
And that's Night of the Living Dead. And Fred the Wolf said this was number 9 on Bravo's list. So that's interesting to know that it bumped all the way up to what? What are we at? 17? She's only 17.
Yeah, 17. Which when I first saw that, I was like, that movie should be in the top 10. Like in my mind, like there's no question about it. But you know, if you think about it, maybe if they're going with that, if they're going with the scariest kind of stuff, maybe it's an okay spot. I don't know. I think that Romero's kind of gotten fucking hosed on this list, if we're being honest. Like, but
I mean, Day didn't make it, right?
No, and then I thought about that too. I was like, they're not going to put Day in the top 10. They're not going to fucking put Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and then just put Day in the top 10. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think Day being up there is not going to happen, and which is crazy to think that it was kind of snubbed from the list too. Because to think of everything that we've seen in here, and you're like, no, they couldn't have put Day in here. You know, it's kind of wild. So I mean, I'm sure Night of the Living Dead. There's not much we have to talk about it. I know a lot of people are going to love it. Of course, it's classic. But I think we are going to have a lot to talk about this next one, which is number 16. This is deserving, but this hit me freaking from left field, man. I was not expecting this at all. It's great that it has the love because I love this movie, but it's just funny to see how much cred this thing has gotten over the last 10 years or so, because this was not a movie that was barely ever talked about until probably the last 5+ years, I think. And that's Exorcist 3.
So I'm going to go through the list here real quick, but if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first legitimate sequel,
right?
Like actual sequel that's been on this list. Like,
as far as I remember offhand, yes. Like Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, they weren't on here, right?
No, and like. You know, you could say Dawn of the Dead is a sequel, but it's not like an actual sequel. Like, I'm not talking about something like that either. Like, I think this is the first one that is actually, and it's so weird, man, because, like you were saying, this has really not been a classic movie or anything like that. But I think this goes back to the Scanners thing, where they really only reference like one scene in this, and everybody always references this scene, and the scene is the nurse scene, you know, where she's going around and like, you know, checking on stuff. And then the guy comes up from behind her and it's the big jump scare. But I actually think Brad Dourif's performance in this is like way scarier than that fucking scene. Like way better.
Scary. That old lady on the ceiling is scary as shit.
Yeah, that's true. Well. Which they ripped the shit off that in Legion. Like I was like,
Well, you know what's interesting? Scott's Wrestling Collection. He said Dr. Rebecca McKendry teaches Exorcist 3 scene in her film class. Can you imagine paying money for that class? Well, Rebecca McKendry is one of the people on this panel. So if that's the case, that probably tells us on why this thing got way up here. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. I think it should be on this list for sure. It's just crazy to me that a movie made it to like the top 50. What number is this thing? 16?
16, yeah.
And it's a movie that I don't even think. Again, you guys can tell me if you guys know, did this even make Bravo's list? Because I'm telling you, this thing wasn't as well over as it is now 10 years ago. No way. Exorcist 3 is a great movie.
I never really understood it either. It is a great movie. It's got some great performances in it, and like all the stuff they were talking about in the show was true about it. But it just seems really high to me to be above like all this other stuff.
Fred said it wasn't even on the Bravo list, so that it wasn't even in the top 100 10 years ago. Put it that way.
Where did they two rank?
645. But I agree, it's a great movie, and it's cool to see this thing sneak into this list at a pretty high. I mean, at a very high position. It's kind of wild to see that this thing has gained so much steam over the years.
It's Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie. Everybody's referencing that from the show. Yeah. Yeah, you can go as soon as we watch this movie. That show's so creepy. That show should be on this fucking list. This is great. Seeing Extras 3 is like seeing the 1, 2, 3 kid beat Razor Ramon. It came out of nowhere.
I can still remember that night, man, like it was yesterday when that happened. I was showing my dad how cool Razor Ramon was, and he got pinned by like the Jumbo. I was like, this guy sucks.
Oh, here you go, Garrett. Nobody gave a shit about it 5 years ago. Not appreciated when it came out. Kind of like Halloween Ends.
You wait. Halloween Ends is going to be appreciated big time in about 10 years.
It's going to be a goddamn certifiable classic.
It's gonna be up there. You trust me.
Exorcist 3 is the true sequel to The Exorcist. Yeah, I don't think 2 should ever be even mentioned.
Well, did you guys see the new thing now? The group's petitioning to get them to rewrite it and do it again. Ends.
What?
Yeah. It's like I think the petition's like full or something now, where it's basically like telling Gordon Green to do it over again.
Wow, like, man, that's
think about what world we're in right now, where like people have like the power to be like, do it all again. Like,
yeah. You piece of shit. I wish they'd have wrote that letter to the guy that did Exorcist 2, like back in that time period.
Right.
Like, force him to do it over again.
Oh man.
Oh God. Now you want to talk about being surprised though by a placement on this list.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have been any more surprised with any placement on any of this than I was for number 15.
Now let me ask you this: is it going to be the only sequel where the original doesn't get on this list?
The only sequel with that's a good question.
It's got to be, right? Like, which is weird that the first one, I don't think was the first one on this list somewhere else.
I don't remember. It. Was it?
I don't know.
I can scan this real quick. It might have been, man, and I just don't remember. There's been so many.
Which is another sequel, guys. We get another sequel. They did the sequels back to back. It's like the Rockers coming out at number 4 and 5 at the Royal Rumble. They did the two sequels back to back.
It wasn't in the top. It wasn't in the top 70. I'll put it that way because I can go back that far.
We're doing sequels now. Here's another one.
So number 15 was Final Destination 2. Which, okay, I kind of like popped and then also was confused because I think that Final Destination 2 is a great film and it's my favorite of the franchise. And I watched it 8 million times when it came out. But do I think that it needs to be above like Night of the Living Dead and Carrie and, all this other shit? There's no possible way. It should be like in the 60s or 70s. It's not, if it's going on Scare Factor, it's not even really that scary. Like, the opening scene is one of the best opening scenes in a horror film, really. And still to this day, people talk about, the log truck scene and all that. But is it scary? It's just more kind of like an action sequence, really.
This is another big swing on this one. Now I'm trying to think, like, was somebody who wrote this part of the panel, like, who knows what made them decide to do this? But we got 2 sequels in a row after not getting any sequels, I think, throughout this whole thing. And I think that.
Where do you sign that petition? It's already full, man. That's the thing.
I would have been shocked if this came at 50 or 60. I would have been like, oh, wow, they're doing this one? Because I guarantee this was not on Bravo's list. I'm
no, there's no way.
Guessing this is. And we'll find that out, Brian. But yeah, it's kind of wild. I agree that it's good. The movie's good, and the scene is great. But
rubbish. Somebody just put rubbish.
15 is a tough spot for this thing to be snuck into.
I feel like nobody is agreeing with this. Like, this is pretty much like across the board, everybody's shitting on this pick. I love that movie though. I can't say like a lot of bad shit about it, other than it shouldn't be that high on the list. But I mean, it shouldn't even be on the list. God,
Well, I mean, okay, let's go this route. So everybody pretty much agrees that it's good, but it shouldn't be where it is in the list. Now let's see if anybody agrees even more, and we tell you what the one thing that came right above this was like. This was like neck and neck for like 14 and 15 right here.
This
like
is stupid.
Like when
right
you
here.
look at this list, these two are like right next to each other. Like it makes so much sense, and that's Jaws, and just like a little bit less, effective than Jaws was Final Destination 2.
Listen, I don't give a fuck what your background is, what you're judging this on, what the reasoning is for any of this. There's no way. There is no fucking way that Jaws should not be in the top 10 of any list.
Fred said this was number 1 on Bravo's list.
Yeah.
Number 1, it got moved all the way to 15. Get this out of here.
That's so stupid. Yeah, basically everyone is like, what the fuck? Yeah. How? It's like that Macho Man promo, man. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in.
Oh, people are pissed.
Yeah.
People are pissed. The judges are getting paid off. Yeah, that was a rough hit on that one. I'm like, what? Like I thought Jaws was gonna be top 10. No question. Yeah.
So I mean, what are you gonna say about Jaws? Like, if that movie doesn't or hasn't scared you at some point in time, then you're just fucking stupid. That movie made like thousands of people not even go in the water anymore. Like they were swimming in the ocean. Like, there's not really a scarier movie in terms of just the premise behind that movie. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, the next one that we're gonna talk about that beat it out is scarier.
Shut the fuck up, Garrett. But these next three, the order of these next three also fucking pissed me off too. But it is what it is.
What is ahead of Jaws right now?
So number 13, I 100% agree with. I don't necessarily think that the placement is that bad. It's just there's no way in hell this movie should be above Jaws. It just shouldn't. Number 13 was the original Scream. And we just talked about this movie last night on the Craven Show. I will give them this. Like, that is one of the most iconic probably the most iconic openings to any horror film, I would say. Like, everybody knows it. It's been, like, parodied and lampooned, like, by everything. Like, it's just a classic scene. So I agree with that 13.
Oh, I agree where it is on the list, no doubt. I think Jaws should be top 10, and that's my only issue with this. But Scream deserves to be where it is, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Scream is probably not considered scary now because just everybody's gotten used to that kind of trope of the guy with the voice thing calling people, and you know what I mean. It's kind of become a joke now. But at that time when that movie came out, like, I can assure you that movie freaked people the fuck out. Like, and everybody wanted to go see it. It was like a phenomenon, like on par with like Blair Witch. Like that, those are the two 90s movies, like horror movies I can remember. Like, everybody went to the theater to fucking see.
Mm-hmm. And we move on to number 12. And I mean, I guess I'm fine with it.
I'll fucking kill you, Garrett.
I mean,
you could not be fine with it.
I would assume this would have been top 10, for sure, and that's Halloween, the original. I thought this would have been top 10, no questions asked, but I don't know, man. What do you think? Do you think it's weird that Scream and Halloween are like right next to each other on this list?
I think that probably one of the biggest, like, just scratching your head kind of moments was Halloween. How is that not in the top 10?
But
like,
dude, I mean, where was Friday the 13th? Wasn't it like 90 or something?
Yeah, Friday the 13th was like in the 80s or something. Nightmare on Elm Street was, I think, in the 50s somewhere or something crazy. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, where was Nightmare on Elm Street? Because it was 50. It was number 50. So yeah, like, but Halloween is just like one of the most iconic films of all time. The most iconic horror films. It's the most copied horror film probably ever. I would put Night of the Living Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Halloween is the most copied like horror films of all time. So it's number, what do we say here? 11? 12?
12. And then we move into 11, which, again, I thought would have been top 10 again. But, I mean, 11's a good spot, man. 11's a good spot for anything. And we're talking about Alien. So, you know, I don't know where that fell on Bravo's list back 10 years ago, but I would assume Alien would definitely be on the top 10. But it's curious to see, you know, what's to come. But what do you guys think about this with Alien? Alien was 2 on Bravo's list. Wow. So they really shook it up now in these top 20s, for sure.
Alien, in my mind, should not be above Halloween. Like, it should be in the top 20. I will give you that. It should not be above Halloween. There's no way. And yeah, some people are...
Look at Brian's thing.
Yeah. What the fuck? Wait a minute, man. Nobody's saying that it's like... We didn't make up the goddamn list. We're just reporting on it.
They think we wrote it.
Yeah.
Brian thinks, Metal Man thinks we wrote the list.
Jesus, he just laughed. He's like, "Fuck this."
You guys don't know what you're talking about. The new Candyman's gonna be number 1, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally agree with that. Do you know what the new thing is now, though? I've noticed, man, and this is a relatively new trend, but there's a lot of newer people newer horror fans that don't like Halloween, the original. They're like, "Oh, it's boring and yada yada yada. And it's not, you know." And I'm always confused by that, but I kind of get it because, like, you're talking about people that they have to have 4,000 like jump cuts of things and like to keep the attention going. Like shit has to be going on like all the time. So I mean, I kind of get that. But I don't understand.
It's hard to deny it. It's a classic. It still delivers. It still works in my opinion. Hit the like button, guys. Sub over to Born to Be Rad. Sub over to DEADPIT Radio. If this is your first time checking either one of us out, make sure to go hit that like button as well. Truly appreciate it because we are on the second to last episode here. We've been doing this for 7 weeks now. Can you believe it?
That's crazy, man. This is the longest commitment that I've had in a long time to anything.
It doesn't feel like 7 weeks, does it?
No.
So that was the list that we had tonight, guys. And are we getting it? No, I wish. But what's interesting is now we're on the top 10, and you're going to think about all the stuff we've already seen, what stuff we didn't see. And I was talking to him before we went on, and we kind of had a similar idea, is if we got this done, which is only at 48 minutes now, why don't we try to kind of put our heads together, give some ideas. What do we think is going to be top 10? What haven't we seen? Not necessarily what's going to be number 1, 2, or 3, but just 10 movies that are going to probably be on this list, because that's also going to narrow down what didn't make this list at all, which is another thing that kind of shocking to me when you really kind of try to narrow this down, because there's still some heavy hitters here that we haven't seen yet that I'm like, they got to be on this list. They have to be.
People have been putting things on here that I wasn't even thinking about. I did my top 10 of what I think will be in the top 10 list, right? And people are putting stuff on here now where it's like, well, that could very well, like, I could see that, like, being on there or whatever, too.
All right, well, how about this? Why don't you start with one movie? I'll start, and then I'll throw a next one, and then we'll kind of go back and forth and see what we're coming up with.
Okay, here's my wild card one, okay? I've got a couple of ones on here where I'm like not completely convinced that they'll be on the list. But my number one wild card one is Pet Sematary.
Wait, has that not been on yet?
I don't think so.
It's got to have been. No?
I don't think it's been on yet. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that.
I don't think it has, actually.
I feel like that scene with the kid with Gage is going to be in the top 10. I don't know. Or with Zelda. One of those two scenes, I just feel like that it's going to be on there.
Holy shit! Have we not seen The Shining yet? Oh, we did.
No, that's
Dude,
that's
I don't
that's
know.
another one. Well,
I don't know what's going to be on. Dude, there's a lot on my. I've got way more than 10 right now written down.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Okay. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep, that's on mine. That's
Gotta be
100%
on there,
got to
right?
be. The dinner scene from Texas Chainsaw has got to be on this list. There's no way they're not going to put that on there. So you can fucking take that to the bank, like the guy from what's the Stone Cold, the Brian Bosworth movie, or where?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Stone
No,
Cold.
no.
Yeah.
But
Brian
what is
Bosworth.
I'm thinking of the fucking Steven Seagal movie where he's like, and you can take that to the bank. And
I don't know
Seagal's
which
like,
one is. I don't know a lot of Seagulls. Not
I'll
Under
take
Siege,
you to
was
the
it?
blood bank. Anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre will be on there. I think The Thing 100% has to be on
I
that
have
list.
that on mine too. Okay. Hereditary is going to be on there.
Hereditary's my other pick where I'm kind of like, that's my wild card pick too, because it's like they could go with some new shit like that, or they could go with some kind of older stuff. Like somebody mentioned Audition hasn't been
I
on the
have
list.
that on mine.
I didn't pick that, but like that 100% could be on there.
All right, it's on my list. I mean, I don't see how it can't be. I mean, it was high on Bravo's list. It to not make 100. That's crazy to me. There's a lot, man. Like, for instance, Insidious. Have we not seen that yet?
No. And they show clips too, man. They've been showing clips of it, so I'm like, do the things they show clips of like come back around, or do they just
I don't think they do, and that's the thing. Like, I think they show a lot of clips of stuff that's not going to be on the list, like Fright Night. They showed clips of tonight.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, I would be shocked that Insidious wouldn't have made 100 though. Like that would be shocking to me that we wouldn't have seen this at all.
But they did The Conjuring though, and to me, like The Conjuring is like more kind of James Wan-ish than Insidious. You know, it's like if they're going to pick one of those movies, they would. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I always found Insidious, to me, was a freakier movie than Conjuring was.
I did too. I get.
so-
I mean, yeah.
That's what's interesting to me is about that. But I'm thinking, like you said, if they're going to be going with classics, like that's probably going to get bounced.
But think about this too. Here's something else that has. This is the problem. Like, trying to figure out like what, because what movies they're going to leave out because Psycho hasn't been on this yet.
I know.
They've got to fucking put Psycho on there, surely.
Okay, and Exorcist is definitely going to be on.
The Exorcist has not been on. It's got to be on there. And then this one I was thinking back about too. Like, and I honestly can't remember this because they've gone through so many of these, but has the original Dracula been on the list?
Bela Lugosi. He might have. I think Bela Lugosi Dracula was on here.
Frankenstein was. And then the
Mummy and all that other. I mean, Phantom and all that shit.
yeah, Phantom was. But I don't
Preacher.
remember
Preacher wasn't.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, was it? No. I don't remember Dracula being on the fucking list though. I remember all the rest of them.
Okay, Fred says Dracula was not on the list.
So are they just leaving Dracula off the fucking list after they do all that other shit?
Yeah, it's scary. Like, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, all of a sudden, you're gonna go like number 10, X-Files, Home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are the rules?
They could do that. I mean, they really could.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they had a TV show in here at one point, and like then all of a sudden, what are they gonna do? What's the new one there with Flanagan? That's not gonna Midnight Mass is gonna be on there?
Midnight Club.
Midnight Mass, the other one.
Oh, the midnight. Oh, yeah. I don't think they're going to do any of that shit now. Like, I think Flanagan's already had his
Okay.
2 or 3 spots.
Well, Midsummer is that gonna not make it?
See, that's what I was wondering too. Like, of those 2 films, they are not going to put 2 of those in the top 10. There ain't no fucking way.
It's like the Ari Aster show. It's
Yeah,
like
they're just going to be like,
he's
let's just
untouchable.
put all of his films in the yeah. So they're going to pick Hereditary. They've got to. Like, that's the more kind of
Which
universally.
I agree, but like, you don't think Midsummer would have been in the top 100? That's what's wild to me.
The thing is, you can't put Midsummer above The Wicker Man because, like, Midsummer is The Wicker Man, really. Like,
It's just wild that we're like, this whole time we're like, yeah, it'll be top 20 Midsummer. Oh no, it didn't even make the list. Like, what? It didn't make it? Like, that's what's funny and weird about this list now, is that we're talking about movies that we think could possibly in the top 10 that might not even make this list at all. And
then somebody else mentioned Freaks, which
I don't even have that on my list, but I mean, it very well could.
It could be. I'll tell you the ones of this list that I can guarantee you will be on there, though. I can, with a 100% degree of certainty, say they'll be on there. The Exorcist will be on there. Texas Chainsaw Massacre will be on there. Psycho will be on there, and The Shining will be on there. I know those 4. After that, I don't know. Like, the rest of them, like, they could go like a bunch of different ways.
I have The Thing.
I think The Thing will be on there, but I couldn't, like, I can't believe that they would leave
that
it
means
off.
It would be, that's the thing, right? Like, okay, so there's 5, like, guarantee. Hereditary is a guarantee, I think, at 6. It has to be on here.
I think it will be in the top 10. Yeah, I do. I think it will be in there.
So that's 6. Now, here's a couple of the ones I have on here that we haven't talked about yet. You said Pet Sematary. I can see that being on here. Let's say that's 7. Has Poltergeist been on here?
No.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. 8. Okay, that means we only have 2 more. So I'm going to tell you the ones I have on this list right now, and if we only need 2. I had House of the Devil on here. I guess it's probably not going to make this list. I highly doubt at this point.
I don't know, man. At this point, like, anything could be on there, really. Like, it doesn't matter the decade or anything like that.
I have Audition. I have High Tension. Because I know High Tension was on Bravo's list. I remember that.
I would love to see High Tension on this list. I can't imagine that.
Not this high, right?
No, I can imagine it. People have mostly forgotten about that movie, too, is the weird thing.
And that's another thing, too. Like, if it's not on this list, that means it didn't make it at all. Like, and that's what's even more wild to me. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones I have. Like, I had Amityville Horror on here. I guess that's not going to make it.
That could, though. I mean, I could see that.
But what do you bump?
They may not, man. They may, like, somebody mentioned that they picked like a Hammer Dracula movie above, like, Dracula may not even be on the list. Period. Like, it may just free up another spot for something like Amityville. But it's hard for me to fathom that they just completely leave some of these movies completely off and put some of this other stupid shit on there. Wes thinks Pet Sematary will make it.
I think so too.
East Side Motel says he doesn't think Pet Sematary makes it. He thinks Amityville will be on there. Some people don't think Amityville will be on there. Like, there's maybe only 6 or 7 we can guarantee. And then the rest, you have to use your imagination, I guess.
So as it looks like right now, I'm going to guess, if I had to take a wild guess, I'm going to say Exorcist is number 1. Now, the reason I'm going to say that is 2-part, because it is such a classic or whatever. And I almost think, like, wonder if they're going to, try to hype the new movie that's coming out. I don't know. I would probably say it's number 1. I would say that or The Shining, in my opinion, but I'm going to go with Exorcist as my number 1.
I'm going to say that it'll either be The Exorcist or Psycho. Yeah. I think they'll pick one of those 2 movies.
Okay, so really quick, like I'm going to run through what we have, how many we have here for 10. So Shining 1, Pet Sematary 2, Psycho 3, Exorcist 4, Texas Chainsaw 5, Hereditary 6, Poltergeist 7, Things 8, and then I have here still Amityville Horror, which could be 9, Audition could be 10. Now that means we left off Insidious is gone. Insidious is probably going to be gone.
I don't know, man. Like I said,
House of the Devil gone, Midsummer gone.
I think you could take Insidious. You could take Insidious. You could take Pet Sematary. You could take Amityville Horror, and Audition. Any of those could make that list, or not, or it could be something completely we're not even fucking thinking about. Well,
TJ made a good point. He said, "What about Sinister?"
Sinister, yeah. I think that's one of the scariest movies that's ever come out. So I don't know
what, man? That's a good one. That might be in this list. But again, now we're at a point though where we're leaving stuff off the 100 list. So like he said, something could have been forgot about, right? Like Audition could have been totally like somebody could have not even thought about it.
Didn't they
has
already
been
do?
talked
They already
about.
did Ringo though. Fred
They
the
did?
Wolf. I'm pretty sure they did.
They did The Grudge. I don't know if they did Ringu though.
Uh,
If they didn't do Ringu, it's probably Ring is gonna probably be on there.
did they not do that already?
I know they did The
swear to
Grudge
God
one.
that they did that, but maybe they didn't. Where was the Mothman prophecy? Shut the fuck up, Jack Frost. I love that movie, but yeah,
This is the problem, man. They're stuck in a hole now. Like at this list, like think about all the ones that won't make this if at this point. That's what's crazy to me is that these are just going to be gone. Like I mean, some of the ones I would have liked to see on the list that I know are not going to make it. Reanimator's not making it. Hills Have Eyes is not making this list. Like that's wild to me. That out of 101 movies, like there's no place for those in there.
maybe it does though. That's like we don't know. Like we're just kind of guessing, but maybe Hills Have Eyes does make it. I can't imagine it above like some of these movies we're talking about, but
Right.
that would be crazy to me too because that movie's terrifying in a lot of different ways. But
Yeah, Blair Witch was on. American Werewolf was on.
yeah, Phantasm was on number 60. Somebody asked about that one.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see. In my opinion, it's gonna be more interesting to see what didn't make the 100 list at this point.
Oh, let's see. Curly Jaws. Hold on, he's got a killer top 10 here. With the Bye Bye Man, Pet Cemetery, Rob Zombie's House, Thousand Corpses, Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3, and Cujo. There we go.
Well, you know what's funny is Jeepers Creepers didn't make this list. Do you think they purposely did that?
No, maybe.
No,
They
you
didn't
say
want-
like they're not going to touch it? Like,
Yeah,
they don't want to be
I-
like, oh, it was kind of scary, but I'd never watch that now.
the way these people are in this show, which by the way, sometimes when they start talking about, like there's a couple of people in there's like, well, you know, when they went into the ocean, that was symbolizing going into the vagina again, and like I'm just like, would you shut the fuck up?
Well,
no,
Fred-
they weren't. Like, we're
Fred
doing
made
any
a
of
good
that.
point. There's been no Rob Zombie yet. You don't think he's on here?
I don't think he's going to be on here at all. At
Rob's
this
like,
point,
what the hell?
he's just.
I mean, that's
What-
wild. Like, you're not going to put rejects or corpses on this list at all?
There's no
Like,
way.
that's wild.
There's no way.
No, I know they're not going to now, but I'm saying, how can you make 101 list and those movies not even be included? Like,
Okay,
Like,
I'm gonna.
you made Monsters, like, you're not going to be on the list at all, pal.
I'm gonna try to make a master list of some of these ones that have been mentioned here, and then let's take odds. I'll just throw them out there, and people, you give me odds, like because these, like we said, there's 6 or 7 that we know are going to be on here. But let's see what you throw out. I'll throw out the movie, and then the people in the chat throw out the odds, like 50 to 1 or something that it'll make it. So here's some of the ones that people have been throwing out there. Audition. So what's the odds that Audition gets into the top 10?
I think it's pretty high, but like we talked about before, they seem to take like one foreign movie per 10. So if they haven't hit Ring yet, I'm thinking that's going to be the pick. They're not going to put both on here. There's only 10 left.
Somebody they can't do. Listen, guys, they can't do Sleepaway Camp. We've talked about this. They're not going to touch that movie or that scene. I guarantee it. Because then they have to be like, listen.
It's going to be like, looking at it now, it doesn't really even make sense anymore. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't really make any sense.
We're good people. We watched it and it terrified us, but we don't condone that kind of thing. Yeah,
We're good
that
people.
kind of filmmaking. We're good people. All right, so people are pretty confident about Audition. Okay, so what about like Reanimator? People mention Reanimator.
I would.
What are
love
the
to,
odds
but
that gets on there?
low, man? There's too many good ones left. Too many good ones.
I would love to see Reanimator. I find it hard to believe that it is not on this list anywhere. Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
He said Baldies. We didn't like that.
So like 10%. Yeah, not a lot of people think Reanimator is going to make it. All right. What about... I'll throw one of mine out there. What about Dracula? Like the original Dracula. Like what are the odds that makes the list?
I don't think so. I don't think it can. Which is nuts to think about that. It's like pretty iconic.
It would blow my mind, man. If all those
There's
other
no
fucking
way.
movies...
Unless like something like Sleep on like Hereditary is like too new. Would that have been the newest movie on this list, do you think? The most current? No, because Get Out was on here.
Yeah.
Us was on here.
Us was probably the newest one was Us, right? Like, or one of those shitty Netflix ones that I didn't even remember, never seen.
Hill House was on here. Oh, like
Yeah.
somebody wrote Dracula drowned at Lake Mungo.
Rotted Dead says, did The Witch make... Yeah, The Witch was in there somewhere, wasn't it?
Yeah. Lake Mungo was in there, but no Dracula.
All right, let's take odds on Ringu then. That'll be the last one, because that's the last big one that people have been mentioning.
I'm going to say 80% it's going to be on there. I think it's really going to boil down to Audition to Ringu. It's got to. It's going to be one of the two, because they're not... Imagine if they leave off Texas Chainsaw. They can't.
No. That people would fucking shit themselves if they were just like, no, we're not going to talk. It's not even the top 101.
You know, what they did to that girl, like in the kitchen, was not... We didn't like that part.
Yeah, we're good people.
She should have fought back. We didn't like that.
I would have loved to have a shirt that says Shudder, and then on the back, we're good people. So people are saying 25% chance, 0% chance, 80% chance. It's like, some of these are really like up in the air.
Curly Joe says, imagine if they put Texas Chainsaw Massacre Netflix on the list. Netflix.
That's it. The Netflix Chainsaw Massacre.
So yeah, I mean, The Thing has to be on the list, right? It has to. It's got to be.
Like we said, you can almost take it to the bank that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, Psycho,
Shining,
The Shining, The Thing, and probably Hereditary. I would say that all those will definitely be on this list. Now, after that, I'm not entirely sure after that, really.
All right, so here's the 10 right here. It's got to be the 10. It's going to be Thing, Poltergeist, Hereditary, Texas Chainsaw, Exorcist, Pet Sematary, Psycho, Shining, and then there's one more, and that's either going to be, in my opinion, Texas Chainsaw. I mean, a Ring or Audition, and that would be 10. So,
I would go with that. Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good list. It's pretty good. Yeah. See, people bring up Deep Red. I don't think Deep Red's going to be on this list. I may be wrong. Like, I think that Argento had his... Like, it would blow my mind if they put that above Suspiria on this list as being, like, scarier than that. I don't think they will.
It's going to be an interesting one, man, for sure. I think we pretty much nailed it on the head, though. I don't see any other sneak attack unless, like they said, like, Sinister could get in here, man. I mean,
Sinister.
It really could. And the fact that it hasn't been talked about in 100 movies is pretty shocking to me.
Sinister could 100% be in this list, yeah.
Actually, Robert Scott made a good point. He goes, if Halloween didn't crack the top 10, do you think The Thing will?
Well, I just think so because they've shown it like 400 fucking times. And, like, to think that The Thing would not make this list at all, like... And it's widely considered to be like one of the classics. I just don't.
John Carpenter, what about The Thing? That sucks. They're telling him it's not even that good.
Yeah.
That was like 105. Like what?
Did you ever watch that clip? By the way, that I was talking about the other night, where he's at this convention and somebody's like, "You made Escape from New York, and that film was amazing. What the hell happened with Escape from L.A.?" And John Carpenter's he's immediately like, "Fuck you." He says that.
He's the man, huh?
That's like the best thing.
Thing with Carpenter, though, dude, it's like he's so freaking talented and so good, but he doesn't give a shit, dude. He doesn't care.
No, he has no.
I was listening to him on a podcast, and he was basically saying how he just sits home and does music and plays video games every day, more or less. Like he doesn't care.
Yeah, he's got what they call fuck it money now. Like through all this stuff, where he just
Yeah, I mean, good for him though. I mean, I think he's definitely in my opinion, a director that didn't get enough love. I mean, every one of his movies, in my opinion, pretty much are, great movies.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, those movies actually get better with time, unlike some of this other shit. And you're right. Like he's kind of just disappeared in terms of, well, it's his own fault though. He kind of just isolated himself and everything too, to smoke his marijuana, which is fine. You know, I mean, he's 70-some years old. If he wants to smoke weed and play video games and live off like Halloween movies, more power to him, really.
But yeah, man, like that's the list. That's the second to last list here, and we just gave you what we think the top 10 is. And if we have to choose one, I'm gonna say Exorcist. What do you think? Did you say Exorcist or something?
Yeah, I would say, I was saying The Exorcist or Psycho. Like, there's no other pick for the top to me.
You don't think Shining would sneak in there?
No, I think it'll be the top 3. If I had to place it, here's how I think it'll go from the 1, 2, 3. I think it'll probably be The Exorcist, Psycho, and The Shining. Like, will be 1, 2, 3. That's just my guess.
Exorcist, Hereditary.
Wouldn't it be? What if they were like, fucking Hereditary's number 1? And it's like, yeah, people would lose their mind.
Man, I just don't see how you can't leave Hereditary off this list. You can't.
No, it'll be there, and people will get mad still yet, but like it will 100% be on that list, I'll bet.
I mean, I think it should. It's just, and I think it's one of the best current horror movies I've seen in a real long time, and I'm glad to see something that current can get such a high praise right off the bat. I mean, it's very rare that happens, but it's just going to be very interesting to see what doesn't make this 101 list. You know, something's going to get bumped. You know, it's sad to see like high tension at this point. Like maybe we'll see it, but if not, like to not even make 101, weird. You said, I bet they forgot about it. I probably forgot.
There's some movies like that from that era that they just completely forget. Like they already had Inside and Martyrs on there, so it's like I think they're done with French movies. I really do. I don't think they're gonna do anymore.
Yeah. So, but yeah, gang, that's our that is our episode 7 of the 101 scary movie moments from Shudder's show. So again, what I like about this is that if you don't have Shudder, you just come hang out with us at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, and we'll go through each of the rankings with you guys, and we'll chat about it. I think we're pretty happy with the movies that were chosen today. Obviously, we think that they should have been placed maybe a little bit different, but all in all, as we're creeping down to the end here, this is a pretty good list of stuff that we've got here.
Yeah, man, I like this. I like the way that it's going. I think that we're going to be pretty close to what the top 10 will be, if not like right on target.
Mm-hmm.
So
what up, Danny?
Yeah.
What up?
And so, what do you got going on? I know you got to have like 15 different fucking things going on.
Actually, I think this is good for a couple days after this. I've got Rad Pack, spookiest movies that made us. That's going to be on Saturday night at 10. And then I'm hoping to get a review in of some stuff I got in between now and the end of the week. And then the only other thing I get scheduled is I have next Tuesday. I'm going to be doing. We're going to be talking Halloween timeline. So basically, what we think of the timelines for Halloween, especially the current one. And I'm going to have Brandon Tabato on the channel. If you guys have checked out Tabato Vision, he's going to come on and we're going to talk about that. He's a big fan of Halloween 2, and so am I. So we're going to kind of talk about our feelings on, Halloween 2 kind of being left out of this new timeline that they've created. So we're going to kind of talk about that. And then I'm going to be ranking the Halloween movies on Halloween night. So that is going to be what I've got coming up. Do we have anything together again besides this next Wednesday?
I know that tomorrow we got the Forgotten Romero show, which is me, C.K. Felsher, and Ashless. We're going to be doing that. And I think the next show that we would all have would be the Halloween 3 show, right? The Fall and Rise of Halloween 3.
Yeah.
And then until I can figure out a date for hanging with Mr. Hooper. Like,
I love it. It's got to be Friday. It's got to be Friday.
It's got to be Friday. Yeah. But so keep in mind though, big show tomorrow. That's the Forgotten Romero show. That's going to be a huge one, and so mark that one down. Other than that, and the Halloween show,
give us the thumbs up.
I don't know if we got anything else coming up. I'm sure he'll fucking tell me.
Subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right?
Heck,
Accidentally like hit that apparently.
we ain't done yet.
No.
But yeah, definitely check out that show tomorrow with the Dead Pit Boys. And the big one for me is going to be Saturday night. And here's another little tidbit here is that where are you going to be this weekend?
Oh yeah. So at some point, we've all, and a bunch of people apparently have been talking about this, that Scarefest in Lexington is coming up this weekend, which is like this. And for some reason this year, they must have spent like a couple $1 million getting all these fuckers to come in, because there's like 100 different celebrities and all these different kind of like reunions and things like that. So at some point, we're going to try. I don't know if CK is going to try to be there. I don't think he is. I'm going to try to be there for at least one day. I don't know, like it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. I have no idea yet, but yeah, it's kind of a big deal, and especially in Kentucky.
If you guys see Uncle Bill, make sure you get a selfie with him. And then there's a rumor. Hopefully they're not in the same room together because I don't want to fight. But Uncle Rad might be there too. So if you see him walking around, get a selfie with him.
You never know, man. That's something.
Just don't make sure that you guys. Yeah, he's gonna be pissed if he sees you. So be mindful of that.
That's right. I'm fucking.
So make sure to get to find this dude and take a picture with him. And then if anybody's on the East Coast, I'll be at Chiller. Actually, Fred the Wolf, if he's still in here, I'll be hanging out with him and a bunch of other people. And that is in a week from Friday. I'll be down there. So that's where I'll be hanging out.
Uncle Bill, he wants to know when the H3 show is going to be so he can promote it on the Halloween 3 Lovers Facebook group.
Oh, awesome, man. We had a date set. We had to change it. So we're going to get that thing out ASAP. So keep your eyes open on both channels because we'll have a link up and then you'll start seeing us promote it on our Instagram and stuff. So whenever you see the link, just snag it. And then that'd be great if you guys could post it on there. But yeah, we're going to try to do it for next week. We're just trying to confirm a date.
Yeah, we'll figure it out soon. But yeah, any kind of hype or promotion you want to give to any of this stuff would be great. Like I said, the show tomorrow is going to be big because we're going to have Eric Kent from the Garf Foundation, which, by the way, if you go over to the Garf Foundation right now, they're trying to raise money, and you can buy like officially kind of licensed Romero stuff to help with donations that will raise money for the Garf Foundation. John Carpenter is a new like honorary member, so yeah.
Wow.
Check all that out too.
That's awesome, man.
But I don't know. That's all I got in terms of shows for now. An itchy trigger finger on this fucking.
Yeah, we better get out before it happens.
Before I hit it again. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us as always. Stay rad and
stay dead.
Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do.
I want you to. I don't care. Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
Hey everyone, it's your old buddy O'Curly Jones. And I'm here to talk about Dead Pit over at TeamPublic.com. They got some new fucking shirts out for you. You got the Dead Pit Radio, it's time to get spooky. You got the Rad Season, the Rad Pack. Halloween Havoc, can't go wrong with that. And some other great shirts like November 1st. You got Pit at Night and Born to be Rad Spooky. It just keeps getting fucking better and better, boss. Uncle Rad. Now go on over and get these shirts now. Because they're only there for a limited time, especially the spooky ones. So get them while they're hot. Right now, over at TeamPublic.com. Do it now. I'm going to beat your ass.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.